91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, good friends. Good morning from wherever that you're listening to the show. My name is Wesi Gebanyaji. We are right here on plot 12, Motilen, Boma, on the land of milk and honeys, where we're airing from Barra City. You can listen to the show online on www.cruisefm.com/stream and on Cruise TV for TikTok and YouTube. I know there is the Mufti of Uganda that suggested that TikTok should be banned. I don't know this generation, boomers, those old gentlemen and ladies. You see, you cannot work things retrospectively. The world has moved on. The disruption happened. The Internet of Things and social media is something that is here to stay, and you can't do away with it. Rather, deal with it and learn to use it for better. The team is already with me in studio, and I want to appreciate every person that is locked on their radio. Don't forget that you can be able to listen to the show online and watch whatever that is happening here. But to contribute to our topic of discussion this morning, go to our social media handles 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. The numbers to call to be a part of the conversation this morning is 752 912 912 and 780 912 910. Welcome back from the Lord dinner that happened yesterday. It was beautiful, for lack of a better word. We had fun. The lawyers and Justice Kavuma and the elegance that I saw. Everything was exquisite and we enjoyed it. Kudos to every person that showed up. We had fun. And the after party, I'm very sure that those that have just left this morning from Soho Terrace, it was beautiful. We loved it. Till next year, for those that will still be there, for those that are going to the Barcos, the struggle will continue. But nevertheless, let me give you a rewind of the week before we get into our topic of discussion. Now, opposition legislators presented an alternative budget downsized to 55.7 trillion from government is 71.9 trillion for financial year 2025-2026. This is a difference of about 16.5 trillion shillings. Under the theme combating corruption, the sure way to effective service delivery. How will first of all, what is the essence of this alternative budget and how consequential is it? It is very possible that the opposition legislators spend time and resources drafting documents that can never be adopted by government. Is it time wasting or the formalities just to be followed? That's a debate you and I can start about. Now, you should know that there's been a slap of 10% best tariff that has been slapped on Uganda's exports to the United States by President Donald Trump. Uganda exported goods worth $132 million against imports of $106.3 million. There is a trade deficit. But what does this 10% best tariff mean for our exports to the US, even when there is a huge trade deficit? And we know that we were put out of AGOA because of the enactment of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. So it only gets worse. We only have to be self-sustaining, that we don't need to depend on the economies out there. Now, there's a group of young individuals that launched People Power Front, claiming to be a new political party. However, the Electoral Commission denied ever issuing the said founders a registration certificate. We know these young men, they came and addressed the media about People Power Front with the red beret that is synonymous with the National Inter-Platform. Is it intended to simply split the NUP, or the NUP is moving in a way that is not acceptable to those that were part of the People Power movement? That's something that all of us will be able to watch closely up as we gear up for the 2025 campaigns and 2026 elections. Now, human rights lawyer Mr. Aaron Chizo was granted bail after spending 87 days in prison on a 20 million cash bond, and each of his sureties were bonded 50 million, and those including a constitutional lawyer and lecturer Dr. Kabumba Businje, and a couple of other lawyers. There was jubilation in court, definitely, for grant of bail to Mr. Aaron Chiza. We remember very well on the skirmish that happened at the General Court Martial that landed him in hot soup. He went to the dock where the person standing was only his client. Sentenced to 6 to 9 months for contempt of court. We are happy at least he has some lease of life. The government is set to introduce a new set of regulations and policies to curb social media platforms. I don't know why government is so scared of social media. How powerful is social media that government is so obsessed with how much they can control it? Now, to the topic of discussion this morning, President Museveni traveled to South Sudan to meet his counterpart, President Salva Kiir, amid this tension between him and his deputy, Dr. Riek Machar, who is under house arrest. Now, this is the youngest nation that got independence in 2011, 14 years of independence. But it never stops in South Sudan. There's been an influx of refugees from South Sudan to Uganda. And we know the Uganda People's Defense Forces sent troops to South Sudan, and the statements that were made by the Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, of how peace will prevail in Juba on the backdrop of the very powerful UPDF, and we want to pray that peace in there in Sudan will be everlasting. That is the topic that we'll be talking about. What is the role of UPDF and generally Uganda in stabilizing the Great Lakes region is our topic of discussion this morning. With me in studio is Kansobwenje Deusdedit, who is a lawyer. He owns a political organization. It is called SWAP. Before it was called NARU. He will tell us a bit of that. I have Peter Mpaka, who is a member of the National Unity Platform. And I have Mr. Clifton Manyiromjuni, who is a political analyst from Uganda. Sifa Safi will be joining us later on. We will get to hear from you on our topic of discussions on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. I want to welcome Madilu Inhima. I know this is a very big follow and contribute of the big city. It's been a while since I heard from Madilu and Crescent Saja. There's a young man at Kubiri here, and there's so many that call in and send their contribution on the show. We are grateful. Good morning, Council Bwenje, and welcome to the big city.
Yes, the pleasure is mine. Of course, as a matter of fact, I want to appreciate the fact that Council Aaron Chiza is out on bail. It has been a rough 90 days for him, but he's now free, at least. But of course, the substance of his bail application was actually also strange, because the judge, that is Justice Michael Erubu, struggled actually to justify the competence of the application for bail pending appeal, because there's still doubt as to which court is supposed to entertain an appeal from the General Court Martial. But according to his analysis, the appeal lies to the High Court, because when the cases in the GCM were transferred, in his opinion, even appeals were also transferred to the High Court. So of course, I also want to kind of beg the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, as the judge also did, that the Parliament should enact a law which confers jurisdiction on the High Court to entertain appeals from the General Court Martial. And of course, aside from that, on Thursday I participated in a quiz. It was in Acacia, and I met a lot of people, professionals, students.
It's actually hosted by one of our own, Nkuta Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's a presenter on this radio station.
Yeah, sure. And it was tough, but it was also exciting. People get to win prizes, and I'm informed it happens every Thursday. Even there's another one at Vibes. I think it takes place every Tuesday. So it makes you know what you don't know. And of course, so I invite all of us to participate, to get informed. And of course, I'm also trying
Okay.
to invite the living encyclopedias to become a participant as a group.
You will pay that for the advert because you're calling on
It
people
was, no,
to
it's
flood those
actually,
places. Okay.
it's a matter of national importance for all of us to get informed.
Thank you, Council
Then,
Gwenz.
then just on one thing,
Mm.
I think there's a rise in the number of motorcycle accidents. I think every now and then. So I encourage each of us that before you jump on a border, first inquire if if the motorcycle has indicator, an indicator as well as a what? A side mirror. If they don't have, then you shouldn't hop there.
Okay, thank you. Clifton, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Yes, good morning, Banyaji, and my fellow panels, Peter Mpaka and Council Wenje. I also would like to congratulate the law school at Bishop Stewart University upon having a successful law dinner. I used to love that dinner way back in time when I was still a student there. But even now, I still put in an ear to know what's happening. And also, I would like to congratulate Council Elon upon being released, because nobody would wish someone to stay in prison. His family was missing him and the nation at large, because he was offering services, legal services to the nation. So it's a warm welcome and we appreciate it. And as a point of concern also, I would like to bring you, before the concern, greetings from UK, that is United Charuhanga in Ibanda Municipality. Yeah.
Yes.
They are sending you greetings. The same applies to my people, since I'm the card of the unprivileged. Yeah, I would like to bring you greetings to that section. And also I would like to urge my people of Charhanga to make sure that they are security conscious. Nowadays, thugs have become thugs, so we need to protect ourselves from those vices, because moving at night, it's risky. And it's my call to the police through the CPS and our central police at Ibanda. Let the patrols come back to normal and we make sure that we have security. When I'm secure, the nation is secure.
Thank you.
I thank you. I'll add on from there.
Thank you. Peter Mpaka, good morning.
Good morning, Your Excellency. The immediate former
Yes.
president of the Bishop Stewart University Law School. You man, you've enjoyed things, eh?
What
And
is enjoyment in service?
I must congratulate you. Being a president is partly enjoyment. Our dear listeners and especially the top management of this great radio, Cruise FM, I send you great warmly greetings. West J, I'm a bit perturbed that my fellows here on the panel seem to think that we are living in a normal society. Uganda is turning upside down. Everything that is happening around, we must ask our people to put ears on ground, to get out of sleep, to get out of comfort, and pray for sobriety into our society. I'm saying these things in particular because of the people of Makansing Market. The people of Makansing Market, and Tuzakobatera Homubiri, the story is there, is that some people want to grab the plots of the original landlords who built those stalls in the market. Some of the leaders are advocating for that market to be shifted down into the valley, into Echkutu, because
Into the wetland.
into a wetland. These are government officials who should be enforcing environmental protection, but they are the ones piling soil and making makeshift stalls quickly to gain rent from the muntu wa wansi, the katera masinde. Mwenu bakatera masinde abomu Makansing, muyikirize twerwaneho tukozesa amani gita macagutwine tubase kwerundana turete empindahinduka omunyebembera yihanga ryitu na munonga Mbarara City Council na za divisions zayo. Otherwise, nimbendeza a very good program this morning.
All right, we're stopping for a break. When we come back right into our topic of discussion. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends. Politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Welcome back. It's 27 minutes past 9 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Good music, good friends. Good morning. My name is Wesige Banyaji. On our social media handles, 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook, Cruise TV on YouTube and TikTok. Go like, follow, comment, give us feedback. But don't hesitate if you're a business owner or you have an event that you want to be told about. Please don't hesitate to reach out on us, and you get to get discounts in advertising, and also call this number so that you can be able to talk to the gentleman who is our marketing and sales manager on 741-440-545. The numbers to call if you want to advertise with us is 0741-440-545. That's the number that you can be able to call. And you see, don't stop at only liking the big seats. Make it possible for me to get a salary at the end of the day, and we shall appreciate you. Now, November Love will be coming this year. Definitely, we start letting you know that the vibration will be happening in November, where we get an opportunity to visit your area, but also give back. And we can't wait. The team with me in studio is Mr. Clifton Manyiro Mujuni, who is a political analyst all the way from UK of Uganda. I have Peter Mpaka, who was a lecturer at KIU until he defied government, and he's now in the National Unity Platform. He's advocating for the Muntwawans of Makansing, where I work myself, and I know the stalls. I was the first to be demolished. So I understand the call out for respect of the people and their trading spaces, but we hope that justice really is served. Council Bwenje Deus did it. He's a lawyer and a political analyst, social commentator, but he also is the president and chairman of a briefcase political organization called SWAP. And he had Naru that whose constitution and aims and objectives were to simply defeat a particular ethnic group. I thank God that that was nipped in the bud. We are joined by Sifa Safi, who is a big seater. I've known Sifa Safi, and she has been a part of the big seat for 9 years, since 2016, if I'm to recall very well. So, Sifa, I'm very sure those that have listened to the big seat for a long time, we know the contribution Sifa has made to the show. I want to appreciate you. Sorry for the delay. And let me give you 1 second to just give us your week, and we get into our topic of discussion. Good morning, Sifa.
Good morning, Wanyaji. Thank you for having me, and thank you for hosting the big seat the way you do. People appreciate really. And talking about the 9 years on the big seat, Wanyaji, it reminds me of last Saturday we were here, and one Mutoni Zainab, I think. I don't know how you got my number, you don't know how you looked for me, but finally she said she was so impressed by last Saturday's show and my contribution. So she says I should travel to, like, I'm going to get a goat from her, from Untungamo. I'm so happy.
Don't eat it alone.
I cannot. I cannot eat it
Yes,
alone.
yes.
So that is very good, Banyaji. And greetings to my friends here in studios and our dear listeners. Of course, as usual, I appreciate your time. There are so many places you could be right now tuned into some other thing or place, but you choose to listen to the big seat.
Okay.
I'm so touched, Banyaji, by the fact that China has also come out to say that it is going to impose a 34% levy on all imports from the U.S. as a result of Trump's utterances on the tariffs from other goods that enter U.S. from other countries. Really, analysts are saying this is going to be an economic world war, which is terrible. I knew it when he was declared winner. I knew something good was not going to come out of him as usual. And then Ugandans should be on the lookout, Banyaji, when it comes to these people who come out every time. Everyone is a pastor, everyone is a gospel singer. We know what they are doing lately, majority of them, child sacrifice, witchcraft and all that. You should be very careful. I know people have problems, but not whoever comes out to say that he's a man of God that should have such followers.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, the restrictions on social media as a result of the move of Uganda, Ramadan Mubarak Shey, commenting on TikTok and saying it's not good for this country. Of course, it depends on the perspective from which you look at it, Manyaji, but largely, TikTok is a menace, and I don't think it is contributing much to this country.
Welcome, Sifa Safi. We are straight into the topic of discussion. Our time is already eaten in. Bwenje, President Museveni visited Juba. Juba has never had peace for the longest I have known because of the civil war that happened between the south and the north when Dr. Garang was still alive. And we know that even after the passing of Dr. Garang, we saw the disagreement between Riek Machar, who was the biggest political actor there in the opposition, who was also, in fact, in the ruling government, in the ruling political party, and Dr. Riek Machar, and President Salva Kiir. And Uganda's been deploying troops to South Sudan in and out. And the reason is we are big exporters of goods to South Sudan, meaning that we are there to protect our economy, but also to create stability within the region. What does the role of President Museveni in particular, but generally the UPDF, in stabilizing and restoring peace in these war-torn countries?
Thank you so much. You see, the Republic of Uganda is not there to preserve peace or to keep the business interests of the people of Uganda. It is there to meddle in the internal affairs of a foreign state, and that is against our constitutional fabric. We have no actually. We should not actually intervene in any country to keep a particular government in power. But if you had the speech of the president, he's there to keep the administration of Salva Kiir in power. So that makes us an enemy of the people of Southern Sudan who support Riek Machar. So I would not be surprised if if the people of Uganda in Southern Sudan are attacked there, because it is reasonable and fair to make a conclusion that Uganda is meddling in the internal affairs of an independent state. And so that having been said, there's no doubt that the Republic of Southern Sudan is not about to have peace there. It has been at war, and I don't think it's about to end. It seems there is no understanding, there's no rapport between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar. These are two independent personalities, both of whom are drunk on getting power. Now, until Riek Machar becomes the president of Southern Sudan, there will never be peace there. Okay, and of course, Museveni is not in Southern Sudan as a stabilizer. We all know him as a destabilizer. He has particular interests there, especially for the members of the first family. So, as a country whose forces are there without the approval of parliament, contrary to the constitution, our people are dying. Actually, soldiers, about 700 or so of them, have already died. And I want to believe that those who are dying on the front are not people from the north alone. I want to see Banyankore there as well, because we don't want an army where the Banyankore remain in offices. If it is to fight, they should also go to the front and fight. If it is to die, they should also die, because the people of the West Nile, of Lango, of Ashori, they don't deserve to die there. If they die, then they should also die alongside other people from Uganda, Soga, and so forth, even Kabare and here. Okay? And so when you look at the composition, and you see, it is strange that the UPDF is being killed in numbers when the JAT was here beating unarmed people. So I think, in my opinion, if the JAT is that strong, they should go and fight on the front. So I want to urge the CDF and the CIC that as long as we are in Southern Sudan, the government of the Republic of Uganda should protect our forces, but also to put the interests of the state above the interests of individual members.
Thank you, Council. Manyiro Mujuni, I want to put it to you that Uganda has deployed forces in literally every country in the Great Lakes region. We've been in Somalia for more than, I think, about coming to 20 years. We were in the Congo even before Operation Shuja. We were there during the Kisangani War and fighting Mobutu. Then we were in South Sudan, definitely. We were in Kenya, I remember very well, after the 2007 election. And there was an uprising in Kenya that left thousands of people dead. Uganda deployed troops there to stabilize the country. What does this speak of our forces? Isn't this something we should be proud of as a country?
Thank you, Moderator Westgate Wanyaji. In the first instance, is first to know the objectives of the Great Lakes region, or what makes of Great Lakes region. One of them, there is peace and security, meaning that sending troops in Southern Sudan, Kenya, even in Congo, it is allowed because it is our mandate. If we are not at peace, other countries are not at peace. So meaning that we border Southern Sudan. So it was prudent enough for the head of state to think of taking UPDF to Southern Sudan, because had he left them here, the people who are bordering Southern Sudan, dozens of Nimule and northern Uganda, would be affected, because those guys usually penetrate and enter Uganda, and Ugandans always make business in Southern Sudan. So we wanted peace such that our goods, which we take to Southern Sudan, they are at peace, and that Sudan is at peace, such that the whole region, or the integration of, let's say, Pan-Africanism under one of the core principles of NRM, to keep peace and security and having Pan-Africanism, meaning that if Africa is united and okay, that means that even Uganda is okay. But if there is war in our neighboring countries, it was prudent enough for the president to take their soldiers in Southern Sudan. And another objective of the Great Lakes region, there is joint management of borders, meaning that the president was there even to make sure that our borders are okay. Like I've said, the bordering districts of Uganda to Southern Sudan can be also not at peace, if at all Southern Sudan is not at peace. And again, you first ask yourself, what was the cause of that war? Or what is the cause of the turmoil that is taking place there? It starts by the other vice president, Dr. Riek Machar, who happens to have lost to Salva Kiir, and he was made a vice president as a way of keeping peace. He had accepted. Now, how would he come up now that he needs to again fight? Yet he is in the same government that he is working with. He would have waited until when the term of office is over and wait for elections, and he seeks for the mandates from the people of Southern Sudan. But him considering that they should go into a war, that means that he's bringing a problem to the neighboring countries and to himself. That's why even he was arrested. And another objective, there is what we call sustainable development, whereby there is good governance. Salva Kiir being not having good governance, especially to Dr. Riek, as he says, that means that it will necessitate him to get guns and go to the streets and start shooting at everyone or fighting the government. They would have gone to peace talks. That means Uganda had to intervene. And the president is defending the president in power. He's defending a colleague. It's like, for instance, if Peter Mpaka attacks you as a staff of Cruise FM, then Bugenja as a staff, he has to defend you because you're a colleague. Even if you are in wrong, but at times it's good to keep the brotherhoodness as long as someone is holding position. But if you are an Orenge worker and he attacks you, Bugenja cannot defend you as a colleague. But he would defend you if at all you are in the same line. Yes. That's when he comes in to defend you. So the president, the head of state of Uganda, was defending a colleague. And he knows that if he's okay, if there is peaceful there, his interests also can work out, which is fighting for, making sure that let Sudan be part of the East African community. So if there is war, that means it will be hard to bring back Sudan and be added on other 5 countries that we have in East Africa.
Okay.
Yes.
Peter Mpaka, sadly, the deployment was done retrospectively to seeking the mandate of Parliament or the allowance of Parliament as provided for under the law, because it's very clear that for troops to be deployed outside our jurisdiction as a country, there has to be permission sought from Parliament. But this time around, we only got to know that there was deployment of troops in South Sudan by a Twitter communication by the CDF. And this has not been the first time. We saw it during the Operation Shuja. Our troops were deployed in the Congo, and later information was only conveyed to Parliament that an action had been taken by the UPDF. What does this speak of the intention of those that are in the command and control of the UPDF in some of these actions?
Thank you, Westje. Before I answer your question, I would want to inform the immediate discussant, Mr. Manyurumujuni, that for all intents and purposes, a close look at the practices and leadership of President Museveni, there is nothing like Pan-Africanism. The practices of our head of state is just Pan-Musevenism and his stomach, and the stomach of his close friends and his relatives. So when you get time, edit that part of your submission, and when you talk about Pan-Africanism, do not make reference of President Museveni again. Just talk about his stomach and the stomachs of his friends. Now, basically, the president, the question you've asked me, I can only say that this is impunity, broad daylight, 247. Because it has happened before, like you've said. It has happened again. And I'm very sure that as long as President Museveni is still a head of state, the same practices are going to come. They are going to be repeated and redone and redone. Why? Because we are in capture. We are captives. The parliament you're talking about is in shambles. It's a parliament that doesn't exist. So for me, he can wake up and deploy anywhere he wants, because I don't even think that the 2007 violence in Kenya that you referred to, I don't think even there was approval. The boys were already in the streets in Kenya. So that is to tell the Ugandan that we are under capture, our institutions are under capture. The UPDF is not a Ugandan army, it is a Museveni army. It is the SFC is a Museveni army. It is a one family thing. For me on South Sudan, I would want our listener to know some of these things. That this is the youngest nation on the world. You want to ask?
Reserve it. Oh, you want to ask?
Yeah. He has said that Uganda has no parliament. The parliament is non-existent. But he's aspiring to join the same parliament. So where is he going to find that same parliament?
I'll answer that very direct.
And I'm saying I am aspiring to go there to create the parliament. What do you mean? Is that
politicians?
laughable? To bring sense to that parliament.
You're not good people.
What do you mean? We are not good people.
Politicians.
You substantiate your statement.
Okay, go right.
Kindly substantiate your statement.
Go right.
Because you may want to make the listener think that we are mad. We are not mad. We are serious on these things. There must come a point when somebody must stand and bring sense into the leadership of this country. And you may be one man, but there must be a starting point. You cannot have a batch of 529 sheep and you're just misleading them and doing anything that you want. And there must be somebody that must stand and bring that cause. And we are standing for that. So this is a country that was born in 2011 after a referendum. They decided to vote for independence. But immediately after this sort of independence, we see internal conflicts coming in. Well, you remember that when the SPLA was fighting, they had a unifying leader called John Garang. Dr. John Garang, who perished in an accident somewhere when he was leaving Kampala, going back to Sudan. So, from that time, South Sudan has failed to have a unifying factor in Riek Machar, who was, and Salva Kiir, who was, I think, the deputy of John Garang. And that's where the contestation begins. That Riek Machar looks at this other gentleman, Salva Kiir, as a weak leader. This one wants also to consolidate his power. And then in 2012, you have Salva Kiir sacking the whole cabinet. And that's where the internal conflicts begin, because there was a failed coup that was orchestrated by Riek Machar. And since then, Clifton talked about elections. We have not had elections in South Sudan. We had a war for 5 years, from 2013 up to 2018. They came into a power sharing agreement, but still with a lot of contestations. One of the most important factors that our listeners need to listen to understand is that part of this contestation and these fights arises from the wealth in oil in this country. So this one is pulling strings, I must control the oil. This one is pulling strings, I must control the oil. And that's why I love the part of the submission by Wenje, that we are not there to stabilize, but we are there to plunder. We are there to fight and meddle ourselves into the internal issues of South Sudan. And when the drum comes our side, especially during the election, remember in 2021, how the president of Uganda was saying there are some foreigners, there are some foreign elements, there are some foreign people who are trying to use Bobby Wine, who are trying to use the NUP to meddle into our internal affairs. Yet ourselves, we are in so many nations, we are in so many countries meddling into their internal affairs. So for me, I saw a tweet, I saw a video on TikTok, which they are saying TikTok. Why? Because TikTok, nga President wange weyagambye, people are raising concerns ezibaruma. But there was a young girl from South Sudan who was telling people to watch out on the actions of President Museveni. Actually, that lady was warning this Burkina Faso president, the young man Traore, that be careful. Museveni is inviting you. Come and we discuss. We have some tea together. Be careful. The girl was even saying this war, this internal destabilization of South Sudan is partly because of Uganda. So for me, I want to really say it is good. We cannot let our neighbors be destabilized. We cannot let the dead bodies fill the streets of Juba. But it is wrong if we are there for the wrong purposes. And we must let this nation stand on its own. If there must be a time when we must allow these people to make their own decisions. If they voted in the referendum to cede from the Greater Sudan, even now, we should let them stabilize, have elections. If they vote Macha, let Macha be the president. If they vote Salva Kiir, let Salva Kiir. But we cannot keep here, even in Sudan, the Greater Sudan of Khartoum. You hear President Museveni is there. You hear the UPDF is there. Are we going to dance in every party that is around the village? I think it's time to call our internal policy and vis-a-vis the Greater Lakes and East African region into order, Mr. Vanyaji.
Okay, thank you. Sifa Safi, certainly, when these deployments are being made, a lot of Ugandan money is invested in these, operations, and yet we operate a very deficit budget. We don't have enough of the resources to manage our own internal affairs. Why should we be busy meddling in the affairs of other states, given that we don't even get any return on that investment directly? Why don't we just focus on Uganda as other countries sort their issues, Sifa?
Thank you so much, Vanyaji. Thank you, my fellow panelists, for your submissions. To begin with, it is very unfortunate that a country like South Sudan is going through what it is going through, Vanyaji, considering the fact that they've just gotten, like my friend said, they've just gotten their independence 2011,
yes.
And such things are happening. Actually, some people are mocking them, especially from Sudan, that they got their independence, but they do not know what to do with it. And largely, this is true, Vanyaji. Just mainly because of two individuals, or just because of particular people in this country. Talking about funds that Uganda invest in these operations and whatever, my question would be here that what do we stand to lose if we don't get involved in such conflicts in this region? But some people are talking of money, talking of lives being lost, which is unfortunate, talking about Uganda meddling in other people's issues, political issues and all that. But for me, if you asked me, my friend there who submitted, the gentleman from Ibanda, said that as a region, if we don't get involved in that conflict there in South Sudan, we are neighbors, immediate neighbors, and we don't know what would happen to our people who are bordering South Sudan, and that is very true. But we should look at it in a broader picture, because when you talk of refugees, for example, from South Sudan, we have them already in this country, quite many of them. But if these things continue to be like this, and these regional leaders do not get involved to ensure that they get a solution to this long-lasting problem, that would mean that some of the things that may come out, like I said, are refugees. But we don't look at refugees as refugees. They are coming, they are eating, and they are sleeping. No. There are other things that might come with these refugees. Some people, when they are running from their countries, when there are conflicts there, they come with arms, light firearms. They come with them in this region. For example, people are saying that the presence of illegal arms amongst Ugandans and other people is because of the conflicts around this place. Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan and all that, because people can easily purchase them cheaply and affordably. So, Banyaji, we are saying that if we don't look at that and we are like, let us at least try to make these people come together and get a solution to this conflict so that we stop or we buy these things that the negatives that might come out of this. For example, I talked of arms. These people might come in, that means Uganda itself is going to be destabilized internally, leave alone the external conflicts that might come out. Because when you have people coming in, Banyaji, and you can go and get your 200 and you buy a gun, and you get your 500 and you buy a gun, that means, first of all, there are going to be these robberies, there are going to be loss of lives like that and all that thing. So, Banyaji, for me, I don't find any problem if President Museveni decides to say that I'm going to South Sudan to ensure that our borders are clear, people of South Sudan are safe and all that. Whether or not we are putting in money, Banyaji, is another question. Because even if we are here, Banyaji, and want to defend our territories as a country, still some money will be put in. But what matters for me is how do we account this to the people of Uganda? Because they have to be accountable. But as we all know, when it comes to security, some of these things we don't even need to ask for accountability. They know how to deal with those things. It is not like when they are constructing a road, Banyaji, or when they are putting up a health facility. Most of us have made noise about that hospital is called what? That hospital that made headlines. The Lubowa Hospital. We are right as Ugandans and taxpayers to know what is happening with our money in that hospital building. But when it comes to security, some of these things, Banyaji, are exclusive and we don't have to ask for that. So for me, it is good that these people get involved.
That cannot stand. You see, the security of the state is not absolutely within the control of the UPDF. We also want accountability for what the UPDF is doing, and of course, I think the current speaker she has to inform the people that there's a difference between going to Southern Sudan to keep the government there in power and also going there to preserve the peace of the day. Those two are not the same. Okay. If you go there to keep all people in peace. But when you go there, when you already have a predetermined mind on who to support, that's not preservation of peace.
So, Banyaji, let me conclude. There is a reason God gave us 1 mouth and 2 ears, so that we talk less and listen more.
How about we go in a break?
Said, yeah, we're going to a break, but let me finalize on this. I did not say we do not have to know what UPDF is doing in South Sudan. All I talked about was the issue of budget, that we don't have to know every nit and gritty about the budget when it comes to security matters. And that is just common knowledge.
Why shouldn't we know all the nitty-gritties?
It is just like when there is an operation, Banyaji. We are going to grab something. We are not going to say we are going to put 1 million into this, we are going to put 1 million into intelligence and all that. Some of these things are not.
This is
that
our
is what
money.
it is with intelligence and security. We all know that.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great
Alright, we are right into the second hour of the show. 2 minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesley Banyaji, right here on Plot 12, Mutilen. Mbara is where we are airing, but you can be able to listen to the show online on cruisefm.com/stream and on YouTube and TikTok. That's Cruise TV. Just go on YouTube and type in Cruise TV. You'll be able to watch the big sets. But the beauty about this is that even when the show is done, the conversation keeps on. You can be able to watch anytime that you need, even months away. Give us feedback on our social media handles, 912 Cruise FM on X and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. The numbers to call 0752-912-912 and 780-912-910. With me in studio is Sifa Safi, who is a big seater, and I have Council Bwenje Deusdedit, who is a lawyer. Peter Mpaka is now the new fighter of the common person. We are waiting as an advocate of the court of public opinion. We are waiting that the market will not be shifted to any other location. But how about we welcome development so that we don't have to obstruct everything because of the politics?
What? Repeat the question
Is
again.
only is it necessary to obstruct every development because you think we shouldn't have any kind of change? I thought change sometimes is for the good.
No, you see, we are not advocating for disruptions and chaos and violence and civil disobedience. But if we reach to that point, then we should civically disobey.
Okay.
Now,
Maniro
let me
Mujuni Clifton.
substantiate on that
No,
something
no,
small.
that's not our topic of this. You'll do it at the tail end of the show. Maniro Mujuni Clifton is a political analyst from the UK, that is in Uganda. Our topic of discussion this morning is on what does it mean for us to deploy our forces in foreign territory. We know that UPDF deployed troops in Juba, and there was a visit of President Museveni just about 2 days ago, or just rather a day ago, to Sudan to meet his counterpart, President Salva Kiir, to talk about the state of security in that country. But we also know there was a representative from the Great Lakes region, and that was none other than the former Prime Minister of Kenya, Amolo Raila Odinga, that was stopped from meeting Dr. Riek Machar to only seek permission of President Museveni before you can actually see Dr. Riek Machar. Maniro Mujuni, what does this mean?
For a break before I conclude.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Majorly, if you asked me, people of South Sudan should be given the opportunity to choose their leaders. Like someone was saying that if these people are allowed now to vote, they would really opt for doing away with these two gentlemen, that is President Kiir and Riek Machar. So let us always give citizens the opportunity to choose who they want to be their leaders. And we also want to see that UN is given the opportunity to play a vital role, like the United Nations, though they also sometimes go there and do other things like we are seeing in Congo and other countries. They should be given the opportunity to ensure that the implementation of the 2018 agreement is made. And also, we know that where there are some resources, natural resources, Peter talked about it, because we know there is oil. Definitely, these conflicts will be there because other players from foreign countries will come with interests of trying to peace and whatever when actually they are doing other things. And finally, to allow other members to speak, I want to tell you, Banyaji, that this agreement must be respected because it was talking of disarmament, demobilization, and all that. But they are disrespecting it and they are not implementing it simply because they are not giving citizens their chance, to take part in what is going on in their country. So these two leaders should bury their pride and make sure that they work for the good of the people and for peace in this region. Thank you so much. And for the UPDF, let me also conclude on that. People are saying we are putting in money. Yes, we are doing. But as far as I know, it is alleged that these people are being paid, is it $100 or $200 per day? So if you are talking of people dying in South Sudan, what I know right now is there are some soldiers who are dying to be there to make some little money from there. So for me, it's not about people dying there because when you go to fight, it's not a party. You either survive or die. But the most important thing, Banyaji, is we need peace in this region, and we need to ensure that if these people are going there, the process should be streamlined, and it should be in a way that people who are willing should go there and people are paid what they're supposed to be paid for being there. Thank you so much.
Let's get to our social media handles. Let me pick a few messages before I go to Clifton on on this particular topic. I have Mose Cox on X who is saying, does President Museveni even have the guts to travel from Uganda to Sudan to see someone who is under house arrest? Because we all know it's what he is professional. It's not being for personal here, and you're saying nothing will result from the meeting that will benefit Riek. Just wasting our money. Nwajira Johan on X, you're saying President Museveni for so many years down the road has done a great job in as far as stabilizing African nations facing conflicts, both internally and externally is concerned. The only challenge is that we have very few presidents in Africa who are like him. We would be safer. Natamba, this gentleman is Nwajira Remy. Natamba Anthony appreciated anything good done by the current government. He should see the videos of South Sudanese who are happy that when they saw the Ugandan army reaching the country. That habit of the opposition spreading hate to Ugandans should show how incompetent they are. Sankara Aldertons, who is saying it's ironic that he acts as a custodian of peace in the region with all the violence that he unleashes on the opposition here. He's just fighting the wars of his own interests and not national importance. But sadly, our brothers and sisters in uniform are perishing. You're listening in all the way from Bihar. Thank you. Olan Omkama, you're saying Kamukama, who is Mugumya Olan. You're saying the problem is tribalism in South Sudan. Soriak and Mashal are responsible for the peace. Let me end with this a bit before I get back to the panel. Crispus Katunda, you're saying Uganda has long been involved in mediating disputes in the region, involving Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan. Museveni's visit signals of Uganda's continued commitment to diplomatic engagement and conflict resolution among its neighbors. Keep the conversation coming. I'll be able to read some of those messages. Manyiro Mujuni, what does this mean of President Museveni, that a leader from another country has to seek his permission to visit another country or meet anyone within that country?
Thank you, moderator West Gebanyaji, and I also appreciate fellow panelists. Like you have said, stopping Lailo Odinga from stepping in Southern Sudan and meeting Dr. Riek Machar, I think it's prudent, right? Because in Uganda there is a saying, Enchima tesara gwa chibira. Literally meaning that a monkey or a chimpanzee cannot judge a case of a forest. Since it is where it stays, it cannot accept that the forest be burnt. What do I mean? Dr. Riek Machar is an alternative leader. We look at him as an opposition president. Then Lailo Odinga in Kenya, the same scenario is looked at in that way. Meaning that if you dare allow the Lailo Odinga to meet Riek Machar, something bad would come out of them. But when leaders meet, they talk as leaders. Why don't Lailo Odinga request to meet Salva Kiir and Riek Machar at a go and they discuss as men instead of meeting the opposition president?
So then why did Museveni meet Salva Kiir alone and not the two of them?
At times we don't know what comes ahead or what he's planning, especially in the coming week. What will happen? He may meet also Dr. Riek Machar. Nobody knows. But in politics or in management or leadership, you can't accept all kids. If let's say the young kid is saying they are abusing me, you first listen to the older person. Why is he abusing the kid, or why is he beating the kid? Then you come up with the conclusion. You listen to both sides. That's what Baganda say. So that's what Museveni is doing. He's meeting in first place, he's meeting Salva Kiir, then later you will meet Mr. Riek Machar. But I know Riek Machar may even boycott.
But if at all your reasoning is to, if your reasoning is to keep stability and security within that nation, and at the same time one of the parties is writing a letter to the UN rebuking your deployment, doesn't that augur very badly with your intentions?
And it's also it is on record, Museveni actually was not concerned at all about the status of the person who was in prison. He doesn't even care. He doesn't care about whether Riek Machar is alive or dead. Because in Museveni's mind, he has no idea of peace. Because you cannot give peace when you don't have one. You cannot mete out terrorism on the opposition in Uganda here. And then you think you have the moral authority and ability to go and give peace to the people in a foreign state. And you see, in in the constitution of Uganda, we have what we call the national health objectives and directive principles
of state policy.
Yes, of state policy. And objective 28 states as 28(1)(c) says the foreign policy of Uganda shall be based on the principles of peaceful coexistence and non-alignment. So the fact that Museveni is already on the side of the government in power, it disqualifies him. He has nothing to offer the people of Southern Sudan apart from the. So he's really so conflicted, compromised, and biased. He has nothing else to offer apart from war. So the people of Southern Sudan should not actually should have
But
no
Mwenje,
faith.
Mwenje, we should be
in the
proud
person
of the
of the president.
UPDF. The UPDF was deployed in Somalia and AMSOM, and we
Yes.
see that peace
And what has happened?
and stability has been restored in that
I
country.
don't think so. Then why is it still there?
We know very well there were problems in the Congo during Mobutu's era. President Museveni restored the peace
How?
in the Congo.
How?
Where is Mobutu?
This operation Shuja, this operation Shuja has the UPDF ever shown you a single body of an ADF person there? We actually don't know what they are fighting. We don't receive any accountability of dead persons there. We don't know if they are hunting rats or cats
is
or
that
what.
your biggest interest?
Yes, because if you are fighting a war on behalf of the state and we are not seeing the people whom you kill and you say you are killing them.
No, but
so
at
where's
least
the value for
I-
our
I-
money?
I have seen pictures
Of what?
of fallen ADF combatants. I've seen,
Where?
Without doubt, I have seen pictures of fallen combatants who are alleged.
They can even
quote-unquote.
be UPDF officers paraded as being dead.
Well,
And I wanted also to bring this out
let's maybe shift the gear a bit better. Are we cognizant of the fact that Juba and South Sudan generally is a very important market for the Ugandan goods, and it is only sensible and to deploy in such a country so that the instability does not spill over to Uganda, where we're going to have an influx of refugees that we have to support, and that will constrain our budget. I think we should applaud
Are you trying
the
to
leadership
put,
in the
no,
UPDF.
no, no. Are you trying to put the business interests of the people of Uganda above the right to life of the people of Southern Sudan? No.
But you see, the UPDF is not in Juba
To do
to
what?
kill South
No,
Sudanese.
no. The president is on record. We are there to keep the government there in power. They are not there to ensure there is harmony between the opposition and the government of the day. No, they are there to prop up one government and subdue the other one. They are not there in the name of trying to keep harmony between the two independent minds. No, they are there either as mercenaries. So they do not have the interests of the people of Uganda at heart. They don't even have the interests of the people of Southern Sudan at heart. The UPDF is there for its own selfish interests.
Okay, let's
Not
get
at all. It depends on the spirit the opposition came into. Because they came in a bad way. And another thing, like I was saying previously, I told you, a colleague, President Museveni is defending a colleague. That's why he's forcing himself to align with Salva Kiir, because the sitting president, he has to defend him.
Okay.
And that's what is wrong.
Yes.
Because
Stephen.
here the constitution of Uganda is saying, if you go to a foreign state, make sure you don't align yourself with any faction. But Museveni has already broken that.
But opposition are acting as terrorists. What would they do?
Odinga denied access to why he's not allowed to be part of that negotiations there. When he went there, when he visited Juba, he said, after meeting the president, he came out and announced that he had been denied access to Dr. Riak, and instead he was being referred to President Museveni, something that the press secretary, Mr. David, came out and refuted. What does that mean? He looked like a liar. He looked like he had gone there for selfish intentions, not to mediate. So if you talk about him being denied, there are reasons why he was, and these reasons are really genuine. For me, at this point, it is not about who goes there, but what do they go there to do.
But also we should also know that Uganda is preparing for an election. And therefore President Museveni is looking for relevancy. Every time we are entering into an election, I will never forget the story of 2019 and Rwanda and Uganda at the verge of war. And the Katuna border was closed simply because we are heading into an election which President Museveni knew he was going to lose. And indeed he lost.
Okay.
So this is just him playing to the gallery and looking for relevance. You see, I'm involved in stabilizing South Sudan. You see, I am also stabilizing Sudan. Because even in Sudan, he is aligning with the RPF of this man. That's why when that guy came and visited here, I've forgotten the name, the president there, the Burhan man, also complained to the UN and said, but how is it that the people who want my government dislodged have the liberty of visiting President Museveni? So he's just playing head boy characteristics, trying to posture. I am the prefect of the region.
But after almost 40 years in power, I think that would be a given.
You see, that's why I said you cannot say it is just a given, because it would be a given if every nation we have stepped into, we have stabilized it and allowed it to play its own internal matters in a transparent way.
Okay.
That's why we have problems. Look at Kenya. We have had problems with Kenya. People, to the extent that somebody who is prominent in the country can say, I can annex Kenya, I can defeat Nairobi in 2 weeks. So that head boy mentality of President Museveni, prefect of the region, and his son, Manya Eldamano, is what is causing problems. And as long as President Museveni is entering into an election, he must cause some insecurity, because he's also an expert at instability, so that he can be looked at as still relevant. The man is simply irrelevant to this region.
Okay, we're stopping for a break. When we come back, it will be the lifeline of the show. The telephone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. There's a gentleman called Kagahe. This man here, he works at Makan Singh Market. He's telling me he's tuning in from Katete. Thank you, Bwana Kagahe, for listening to the show. We're stopping for a break. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
If you think you It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
All right, we are back. It's 23 minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music. Good friends. My name is Wesige Wanyaji. I want to appreciate all the places that are blazing loud with the Big Seat. Pekamega, as you're going to Ruti, that place, it's always loud and clear with the Big Set. I'm very sure that day to day, as you go in for shopping, the Big Seat is on. And Total petrol station in Revi Corner, I am certain that the Big Seat is on. There's a day I pass on Home of Chapati just behind there. The Big Seat never stops. And all these places, we want to say thank you so much for keeping it locked. In Kolanolia, yes, in Chikona in Nyakayojo. Yes, Chikona in Nyakayojo. All these places, you do us real good. Yes, in Uganda, the people of Uganda, the people of Kasese, the people of High Street here, in every other place, Isinjiro, Kamwenje, where our frequency reaches, you do us real good. Now let's go to the MVPs of the show. The telephone calls 1752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The drill is simple. You call in, state your name, where you are at, and to the matter. The topic of discussion this morning is how important is the UPDF in stabilizing the region, knowing that we have more than the 3 indigenous members of the East African community. We are later had Burundi and Rwanda, and then South Sudan. Somalia is interested, Congo is, and what does this mean for peace in the Great Lakes region? The big set.
Hello, Cruz.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Ainebiona calling in from Mwizi.
Yes, Ainebiona in Mwizi.
Really, I really ask myself, where do this government get money to facilitate these soldiers they send outside the country? They have failed almost to organize LC1 elections, demanding that there is no money. And where do they get this money to give the soldiers? Don't you see that in 7 is really, I can't say.
All right, thank you so much for that feedback. You're wondering why the president would deploy troops outside Uganda when we have issues here that need that money. But you see, since we are not an island, we depend on our neighbors for so many things, and destabilizing them or having any kind of disruption in their country affects us. Just lost that call on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Hello, caller.
Hello, good morning. Banyaji.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Nwazana Innocent, calling in from Isozi, Isinjo district.
Go right ahead, Innocent.
To the matter, I think the president is right to intervene in the foreign policy of another country, South Sudan. But where the challenge is what he has gone there to do. And even Ugandans need the accountability of it, because after all, if we are to benefit, the country would benefit, and if we are to gain nothing or to lose our money going into those departments whereby we are not benefiting, after all Ugandans we have to suffer. Thanks for the good program, West Gabanyaji.
All right, thank you so much for calling in the same way on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Call in and let's get to hear you on whether you think it is only right that our troops are deployed in South Sudan, and what does the visit of President Museveni in Juba mean, knowing that he met only President Salva Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar is under house arrest. The big set. Hello, caller.
Yes, who's FM?
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Joseph calling in from Isinjo Katende.
Yes, Joseph.
So, you see, for me, I don't see any reason to why Mr. Museveni is just going to Juba for that. And yet, we still have many conflicts in our country, Uganda.
All right, let me end with this for now as we get back to the panel. The big set.
Good morning, Yossi Banyaji.
Yes, good morning, my brother. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Okayango Zubairi in Barra 2 miles, Arsenal Blood.
Yes.
What is disturbing African countries is that they don't want peaceful transaction. You see, there is a proverb of saying that birds of same feathers are flying together. You see, Mr. Museveni is the one who comes out to run and help Machar. Because that they are suffering the same disease. They don't want peaceful transaction.
Oh.
That is the very, yeah.
Okay, they don't want peaceful transition. Okay, thank you. Yes, let's come back to the show, to the panel here. As we wrap up this topic, what's the way forward? What do you think? Should the UPDF troops be drawn back to our country and take care of the interest of our country, or we should go ahead and spend taxpayers' money in preserving peace in other countries?
See, there's nothing wrong, and I'm not opposed to the UPDF going outside the boundaries of the Republic of Uganda. It can go as far as the moon, as far as Neptune, and so forth. But the question of the day is, what are you going to do there? And when the UPDF is out there, it must know and always remember that it is still bound by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. You don't go there to rape, to steal, okay? And above all, you don't go there to keep a certain government or a party. So it should not go there to support either the opposition or the government of the day, because the constitutional dictate here is you must go there to preserve peace, number one, and not to align yourself with any of the sides there. So the issue I have with the UPDF being there is that it has not gone there to preserve the peace. And you see, it has no issue. Actually, it should not be concerned about who is doing what. What it should ask itself is that the people of Southern Sudan should have the peace they are entitled to. But when you go there to support the government of the day and you don't care about where Riek Machar is, then it means you already are biased. So of course, I want to inform the people of Southern Sudan not to trust the person called President Museveni. He's a dangerous man. Okay.
Boy, Peter Mpaka.
Thank you, SJ. For me, I am in total disagreement with the deployment, and I want to request that our boys and girls who are in Sudan, Khartoum, who are in DRC here, who are in South Sudan, should be pulled out. You see, the government of Haiti was collapsing. Gangs, because of gangs, even now they are not stable. But the Haitian government put out an international request for any government that could send its troops to stabilize Haiti. And in all the world, the Kenyan government, President William Ruto, accepted the request, and program and procedure was taken to the Kenyan parliament. And the Kenyan parliament approved deployment of Kenyan soldiers in Haiti. So if we are doing things kawunduka kubyedirisa, if Uganda continues this rapid... I talked about the issue of parliament, and I said that there is no parliament, and you people laughed at me. But I'm telling you the truth. If parliament is just there as a building, and then it's a ruchiko of some 400 people who yield no power, who cannot say, let things be done in the right procedures, then we are still wrong. And we cannot be the only wrong country, the only wrong army in everything. We are in Sudan, we are in Mali, we are in Burkina Faso, then you hear we are in Car, then we are in Chad, then we are in Somalia. Kwegamba tukuba mbundu ya zompa zendia. I don't, that's what I mean. Tukuba mbundu ya zompa ngaba pangise. For me, it is wrong. So I want to ask the people of sound mind that this is a country that has lived for 14 years. From 2011, now this is 2025. But all these years have been spent in unproductivity. The people of South Sudan, the Katera Masindes, the Kakura Nkonyas, they are suffering. They are toiling. They are dying. You have that Darfur region where the people are suffering of famine and so many troubles. So for me, my heart goes out to the ordinary. No matter when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. My voice goes out to the voiceless in South Sudan, even here in Uganda, because you hear businesses, people whose cars have been burnt on the road. Somebody you invest, you buy a Fuso, you buy a Sinotrack, you're taking Matoke, then it's burnt. on the road, you
Okay.
fall into an ambush. I am calling out for stability. I'm calling out for procedure discussions any other time that there can be such a call.
Thank you. Manyiro Mushuni.
Yes, thank you, moderator. Me, my last submission on the issue of Southern Sudan, I would request and strongly agree with UPDF in being in Southern Sudan because of my neighboring district, Kamwenge. People who grow maize, let their maize go in peace from Uganda to Southern Sudan because there is peace, such that they can get money and their livelihoods are changed.
Okay.
Yes.
Sifa Safi.
Thank you, Banyaji. Thank you to the listeners who called in and who sent in their messages. One thing for sure is that I want to appreciate President Museveni's initiative to send troops there to help neighbors, to bring peace in the region and in that country. One thing for sure is that people complaining that they are there but they are fighting one side and the other. For me, as far as I know, Riek Machar, Salva Kiir is the legitimate president of South Sudan, so he has to be treated like so. That is why they are there to protect him. But it does not mean that they are there to fight his opponent. And I want to tell you one thing, Banyaji, that the reason we are fighting and craving for integration as a community, as a continent, one of the reasons is market. We want market for goods and services. And as far as we all know, that is a fact. It's not debatable. We export a lot of things to South Sudan, including food, milk, and others. So for me, when that country is destabilized, that means it's going to affect our exportation to that country. So we must fight for that to ensure that there is peace so that businesses can continue to boom for employment and other things. And finally, I want to comment on the issue of someone said that there is a girl who wrote and said that people should be careful with President Museveni and all that. Those things will ever be there. Even here, Banyaji, when we are talking, someone out there is like this and that, ABC. Those are their views. But we all know that there are so many South Sudanese in this country, Uganda. They're in our schools, our universities, they're in business, they're in transport sector and everywhere. So those people appreciate the fact that President Museveni is there to keep peace. And like my brother said, you did not see how happy the people were to know that President Museveni had arrived in that country for peacekeeping and all that. In Congo, when people are saying that UPDF is there to steal and cheat and whatever, I'm not there to say it's true or not, but there is a time when they threaten to pull out of that country. You don't know how many tears people shed, how many people shed tears there, saying that UPDF should be here to protect us. So one man's meat is another man's poison. But what we want, Banyaji, is peace in this region for business, for health, for everything to prosper. Thank you so much.
All right. Innocent on Facebook, you're saying you only a stable country can stabilize an unstable country. This move is a sign of Africanicity since Ugandan's involvement. We have seen peace that has prevailed before the recent turmoil. What we need most is the Sudanese government to be on the brief fund when UPDF operations or pay later. Kayongo Subail, you're saying African countries, they have, it's not very clear. Kabagambe Walton, you're listening in from Kasese, you're saying Uganda goes to secure peace where it ends. And I have Frank Rwachuruhura, who is saying, for us, we only want the clear information on the number and the names of the UPDF soldiers that passed away, and we celebrate them as heroes. It's not Uganda's role, it's Museveni's role. He has monopolized everything. I wonder what will happen in Uganda when he's dead. Paul Tumusime, thank you for the message. Delisha Silva is saying President Museveni is not made for peace in South Sudan, but rather his selfish and personal agenda, together with his family. Listening in from Rushere. Manashe Justice, you're saying, however much the Bible says that we should not love our neighbors as we love ourselves, we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Surely, you can't leave your house burning and then carry jerrycans of water to go and stop fire at the neighbor's house. Then you're saying greetings to Peter Mpaka, who is your neighbor. I want to appreciate John Ian Makula, Delisha Silva, Onesma Shasha, who is listening in Chempisi, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, without forgetting BTS Hadi, who is saying, I personally doubt the president intends to destabilize anything. He just wants to keep the boys busy. It's not a good idea for soldiers to die. I want to appreciate you so much for the contribution, the feedback, and those that have called in. We get to engage in a few minutes that we are left with on whether you think government should adopt the alternative budget that was presented by the opposition legislators, all the way from 71.9 trillion to 55.7 trillion, and it's premised on service delivery and fighting corruption. how realistic are the budget estimates by the opposition? Peter Mpaka tried to look for a Peter Mpaka, what's the problem? You tried to look for the figures and failed. But isn't it only right that these estimates are incorporated within the budget framework paper that is before Parliament?
Thank you, West J. You see, we are dealing with a dictator. As one dealing with a dictator, no wolinka watera kapa omukuri. Because this is not the first time that our current leadership in the opposition has presented an alternative budget. I remember last financial year, actually we presented a budget of 42 trillion. Yet they went ahead and approved the budget of 72 trillion. So ntutera kapo mukuri nche chinkwenda gambira bakatera masinde batahi banje ngumwina karuru dictator ngamba nyenka mumwima karuru. Otherwise, for me, I want to appreciate our new leadership. I really want to appreciate Joel Senyonyi. I want to appreciate my president Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, Bobby Wine. I want to appreciate the Secretary General Rubongoya and our MPs. Hakuba bakatandika bakutugaya these ones nabayaye these ones nebingonzi they are nakasorora, they will come down. But you can see that at the end of the day we have brought up alternative policies that are people-centered and are promoting the will of the people. So for me, whether they adopt it and inculcate it into the final budget, whether they don't, nze amaso gange like Segirinya used to say ensoro kuchizigo kweri, my eyes are on the goal, defeating and uprooting the current leadership of President Museveni. Then Ugandans will be able to determine their own destiny. Then that parliament, which I said does not exist, it's just a building with people just coming in to pick salaries and some, the other time they are talking about some of them who are picking boyfriends. That is, we when we get to that point where we can change the trajectory, the direction of this country, then we will be at par as a country.
Okay. Alternative budgets. Sifa Safi, why don't you include these budget intentions within the framework paper that is before Parliament? What is so hard for the NRM government to simply scrutinize what the opposition is presenting and adopt some of their proposals?
Thank you, Banyaji. It wouldn't be a bad idea for them to adopt if these ideas and suggestions were making sense, but they do not. Actually, for me, there is nothing new they have brought up. The only important thing for us as citizens of Uganda, Banyaji, service delivery, not this politicking of alternative budget and all that. Peter Mpaka of NUP has just said that it's just a building, that is parliament, of people to go in and pick money, and that's all. He did not say NRM MPs, but he said MPs, including the NUP MPs. So that means all those people are just playing around. They are not making sense. Currently, the NUP is going through a lot of internal squabbles and wrangles and all that. So for me, they had to come out with something at least to blindfold people's eyes and to show that they're at least also there. He talked of relevance, and that's true. In politics, if you don't fight to be relevant, you lose out. We are coming towards this period. You know what it means this season, and of course, they have to come out with something that will keep them on top and make headlines. And indeed, right now, they are making headlines. That is the alternative budget, but it does not make sense at all. You see, Manyaji, figures might appear good in the eyes of people, but when in reality, you cannot do this practically, and that's not what we want. So for me here, bottom line, over and above is...
You see, when we come here, we don't just come here to make fun. Has she read the budget?
If you have not read it,
have
it does
read
not
it?
mean that nobody else has read it.
See,
If
because
everybody has not
you
read it.
cannot
answer
fight.
the question. Have you read the budget?
If I hadn't read the budget, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying.
Have you read it?
You are trying to read it on your phone now, but I read it immediately it came out. So for me, Banyaji, what I'm saying is, all we need, Banyaji, is the money we have as a council.
If she has read it, how much was apportioned to defense?
Let me again put this right. This is a big seat. most importantly,
You
if
don't have to keep
feel-
reminding us
if you
big
feel
things, because you
sorrow
don't
on
have
a
what to tell
topic,
people,
it's
Banyaji.
very
You
wrong
don't
for
have
you
to keep
to
reminding
always
us,
come.
Peter, that it's a big
it's
seat,
always-
simply because you have no point to
you
give
have
people.
turned it into a
So for
culture
me, I'm
to
giving
come
my...
and demean, abuse,
It seems, Banyaji,
No wonder today you're
Banyaji.
putting on yellow and the skirt is red.
Meaning?
What are you up to?
Imagine.
If you're in your own confusion, please
So,
read,
this is
research,
not fun.
and come and
Banyaji, let me
speak to
conclude on my
facts.
point. Peter came out, he also said it, that he did not know the figures and he did not know
Yes,
what they
but
were.
you see,
That's true.
him
But
not
for
knowing-
me,
him
I
not
read
knowing-
what I read, and that is what I'm commenting about.
I have consented to that.
Pe-
You
but-
not even consent.
What I'm saying is you're seeking relevancy. You can take me to court for that.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
no.
but have you
And
read it?
aside from that, Banyaji, there is nothing much that is different.
No,
we
have
might
you
come
read
out
it?
and say that we shouldn't spend much on the face, we should give it 2 million. In the eyes of people, in the ears of people, it will sound good. And the people will say that, hey, this person is trying to keep our money well and use it well. But is it practically viable? It is not. So what I'm saying, it's not about coming up with figures, A, B, C, D. The only important thing I saw in that budget, Banyaji, and what I want to credit is, you know, for me, I like people who are looking for small monies. Like I said, in politics, I'm not that. What I liked about it is their conclusion that we should ensure that we fight corruption. This is the bottom line, over and above, because this is what is hindering everything. Whether we have big figures or small figures, as long as we don't use this money carefully, and as long as we have corruption, it is not going to make sense. We just talked of someone who has been sworn in, and he got that money for the cars. Like some people are saying, Noop themselves, that he has not been exemplary. If we are getting the same amount of money as MPs, what are you talking about? If the parliament is still getting that budget to sustain them, what are you talking about? The alternative budget. So like I said, as taxpayers, do not fool us around that you are Noop, you are NRM or what. What we want is service delivery, no matter who does that and how they do it. So the important thing here were not the figures, Banyaji. But what, like I said, they said, we have to fight corruption. And there is need for accountability. And that one I have credited. Whether I read it or not, it is nothing new. Like I said, it is not the first time we are seeing this. Not even only in Uganda, but even in other African countries. The opposition will always come out with an alternative budget. But how practical is it? How can it be applied to help the people in terms of service delivery? Let us ensure that the little money we have, Banyaji, is put to right use for Ugandans. They were talking of cutting funding from foreign countries and all that. That is true. I've said it here severally. That if we put our little money we have as a country to good use, we can do without that big monies from other countries in terms of borrowing and this debt that we have as a country. So some of these things they have were good. But like I said, no basa kuba ine chintu chirungi ngwe mukomere mibi ekadipya muteri. No basa kuba ine message nungi konko kuwaji packaging. People are not interested in the politicking. And as I end up, Banyaji, I want to tell listeners that we know there are people who are paid. Whether you're putting on red, you are not Noop. Whether you're putting on yellow, you are not NRM. So, because Peter comes out and says that abanja katera masinde sumanya abantu baburizo because he's campaigning, you think unakunda abantu baburizo. Peter, you are not that class. People should really know. And the other people we know in that group of yours who are saying came out with an alternative budget, you are thanking your president, but some of these people are just sitting there eating money. Ngumukoyeka opposition, murutse alternative budget. We know these things. Tubudi kuzwara yero ngunakunda NRM kantu byo kuzwara red ngunakunda nupe chikwenda kabanya Uganda no buhereza omukasente kita kwanke emisoro, especially this time around when people are campaigning, when they're trying to sweet talk you to vote them. That is when they will come out with these things and show that they are really with you. But you might not have time to comment on the issue of the primaries for parties. Konkani mwiza kuleba kavuyo kona kasasro yona niza kubedio mbururo wobuturum, not only in Noop, DP or whatever, but mostly in NRM. So when you think that some of us talk about certain things because of colors, why do you support Noop with all the rubbish in there? For me, Banyaji, it's not about colors. He just commented on my attire. I'm a fashionista. I'm fashion conscious. So when I put on colors, don't just jump around to comment them on radio. It is about... How did you bring in colors even? Because you lacked points to give people. Anyway, generally, Banyaji, it is good that these people came out and showed that they're there as an alternative government. But to the listeners, this is not what matters. The figures and the languages and the English in speaking and in parliament and all that.
Thank you,
what we want is service delivery regardless of the colors people are putting on and the words they're using on air to show that they like the ordinary Ugandans. Thank you.
Whenever Sifa is here, sometimes I need an extinguisher because it gets blazing hot in studio. I want to appreciate... There can't be smoke without fire, we understand. Peter Mpaka, what is the problem? No, if yes,
the issue that I have with Sifa Safi.
No, we are not debating personalities. I'm asking. Let me go to
the issue is it is wrong for Sifa Safi to come here to use demeaning language and insulting language. No, we cannot. We will
let me get
agree to that.
Manyiro Mujuni.
There is no fighting and you're touching me in the wrong place. If you agree to fight with someone, be ready to be touched wherever.
But you see, when you come here, you must.
There is no Peter, there is no you. You're the same people.
When you come and say that
there
group
is
has
no
nothing
Kamari
to offer,
Nachijeri.
when you have
Do they
not
have
read
it?
their
Do they have it?
manifesto,
Do they have
you have
it?
not read their
But where do you
budget.
belong? Are you noob? I hear
Okay.
you have a briefcase something called
I don't have to belong anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
But I'm
It's not
saying
about where you belong.
you
When
cannot-
council when.
You cannot debunk.
Tell
it.
people
When
what you
don't
came
know
with.
about noob,
No, tell
read
people what
it,
you came
read.
with.
Okay.
Supposing I had not come here, Banyaji. These two gentlemen would not speak.
Order.
Which order now?
Manyiro Mujuni. I want to know the difference of 16.5 trillion shillings that is a result of the deduction from the 71.9 trillion that has been proposed by government and the 55.7 trillion by the opposition legislators. Is this the way to go? That the opposition comes up with an alternative budget, presents it, and have, for example, the office of the Prime Minister dissect this budget, understand the estimates in there, adopt some of the contents of the budget to make our budget better, rather than have a very bloated budget that we cannot fund ourselves, and it creates tension in our economy and eventually being very unsustainable.
Yes. Thank you, moderator and fellow panelists. On the issue of the budget of NUP and the one of the sitting government, or NRM as I may say, I think NUP was somehow good in coming up with the budget. You know, there is a saying that says that as long as the bed shakes regularly, that means marriage is at peace. So, yes. Opposition checking the government. They are there to guide the NRM. It's high time the NRM government or our sitting government looks into the opposition budget and contemplates it with theirs, and they change in one way or the other. One thing I've liked in their budget, they are saying that foreign aid should be reduced and we use our own money, which is also good. I recommend it for that. But what is the government putting in place to make sure that we use the same money and instead of using foreign money? How can we avoid that foreign money? First of all is to fight corruption. Secondly, to reduce unnecessary expenditure. Thirdly, is to reduce on the number of MPs in the house, such that they don't take a lot of money. So that one is good for Peter Maka's party, but the government should also boil a reef and learn from there, because the money wasted in getting many RDCs, many MPs would go in hospitals, would go in roads, or would go in schools. But instead of doing that, they are increasing on the numbers, and it still goes back to your Katera Masindes. Katera Masinde bawo nibo bari kushaba ki municipalities, nibo kushaba cities, nibo kushaba districts. So let them feed the budget. Akuba nibo bacheretire. They are the ones who need that. So I wouldn't blame the government for creating them, but it's after the people's request for that. But it's not good for them to ask for them when it's not at the right time. And another thing, I would commend even the opposition for thinking about corruption. Corruption has spoiled Uganda. It has reached to our bone marrow. It's high time we avoid it, such that we have our own money, we use it for the betterment of our citizens. And another thing I had seen, the budget of security. You were asking why we are going to Sudan. Those are the monies they use to go for troops in a regional integration or regional security. They are using that money for that. But other people may think, you will hear Peter Mpaka saying they are using that money to punish their colleagues. The messages, the Chagoranyis, that's not the case. Not tear gas, but even tear gas is useful. Yes. When you disturb people's peace, they will give you tear gas.
Okay, thank
not
you.
in election.
Okay, let me have Boenje.
The issue of a shadow budget, I think it serves no purpose. Because what help is it to make a budget that is not going to be considered by the government of the day?
What purpose is a best man on a
Okay.
wedding? What purpose is a best man on a wedding?
You see, a best man is a supporter
Of the main man.
of the main person.
So
But a shadow, I mean, you see, under our constitution and the rules of procedure of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, the government of the day is not mandated to consider any provision of the shadow budget. So surely to make it is I think for purposes of fun. Yes, because the law does not afford it any importance. It is just like a shadow cabinet. You see, it. No. Yeah, let me submit.
Let him submit.
This is my opinion. Yes. And me, I'm not driven by either the opposition or not. Me, I'm independent-minded. Okay. So we don't see why the opposition or even the government should waste money on giving the opposition.
Let me substantiate.
No. You see, it's not about NUP. It's about the law. So whichever government is in the opposition, the law does not state that the government of the day must respect.
If we borrow this practice from Westminster, where they have a shadow government that literally provides alternative policies and budgets to the incumbent government. If you borrow, please borrow properly, because the truth is
there's no law which stops.
I don't see a problem with your position coming up with anything alternative to government, for as long as the intention is to make Uganda better.
But the question is, why is the taxpayer spending money on you to make an alternative budget which is not going to make its way into the
budget? But whose problem is it? Is it the problem of the draft of this budget that is providing alternative estimates, or it is the other one who doesn't adopt?
You see, in any democracy, the numbers count.
This is not a democracy.
No.
Don't act.
No. You see, the laws are being made on the presupposition that we are a democracy. So your alternative opinions don't matter. If you don't capture power, don't wait for the government in power to adopt your submission.
We have waited for you to pick guns, but you failed.
Let me tell you, Wenje, just Westja and listeners. For example, I'm here on this show, and as an alternative leader to the leaders in this city council, I'm saying it is wrong to take the people of Makansing in a swamp. You would rather take them to Independence Park because the space is there, or the Central Market. There is space up. There are empty stalls up. So when I come and I put that as an alternative policy, it's up to you in government to take it up or refuse. You cannot say that what I've suggested is totally nothing.
Let's meet next Saturday on the Big Seat. My name is Wesge Banyaje. God bless you. We are out of here. Good morning.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.